CTV News with Stefanie Masotti.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. After nearly 3 decades, OPP say a breakthrough in DNA technology has solved a string of violent sexual assaults from 1997. As CTV's Brian Bicknell reports, a former Ontario man now living in BC was arrested and charged over the weekend.
In the 1990s, Jason Timothy Davidson was a young man living in southwestern Ontario. Now, nearly 3 decades later, the 52-year-old has been arrested in BC, where he currently resides, accused in a series of violent sexual assaults that took place over 5 months in 1997 around Sarnia and Chatham, Ontario.
I can tell you that he was not part of the investigation until we identified him through investigative techniques.
According to Ontario Provincial Police, on March 26, 1997, a female youth was abducted in Sarnia, taken to neighboring Sombre Township, and sexually assaulted. On May 23rd, a female youth was picked up in Thamesville, part of what was then Kent County. She was taken to a wooded area and sexually assaulted. On June 7th, an adult female was picked up in Sarnia, taken to a remote area nearby, and sexually assaulted. Then on August 20th, a female youth was picked up in Chatham, taken to Dover Township in Kent County, and sexually assaulted. At the time, all 4 victims came forward to police.
For 28 years, our teams have worked extremely hard to identify the accused by re-examining evidence, following up on more than 450 tips.
Police say over the years, 2 of the cases were linked using DNA analysis. Then in January of 2024, with advancements in DNA technology, all 4 assaults were connected to the same individual.
That was the turning point. From there, our team utilized investigative genetic genealogy.
This past Sunday, Davidson was arrested in Campbell River, BC, before being transferred back to Ontario.
After 28 long years of enduring, the suffering that they've had to go through, I can't even begin to imagine. But being able to tell them that we got him was a very big moment.
Davidson now facing a slew of charges related to sexual assault and kidnapping. This past June, Ontario's Information and Privacy Commissioner released guardrails for police use of investigative genetic genealogy. The IPC saying while it is a powerful tool for solving serious crimes, there are concerns regarding privacy and human rights.
The police do work with companies in order to be able to access information that is voluntarily, and consent has been provided by the people signing up for individual companies.
Davidson was scheduled to appear in a Chatham, Ontario court Wednesday. Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
Windsor police are looking for a suspect in an East End assault where the victim was left unconscious. They've issued an arrest warrant for 22-year-old Tyrell Patterson. Officers say a fight between 4 men on Tecumseh Road near Buckingham escalated, and the suspect assaulted one of the men, rendering him unconscious. The victim was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Patterson is described as a black man, approximately 5'10", with a medium build and dark beard. Anyone with information on his whereabouts is asked to contact Windsor Police or Crime Stoppers. A Windsor law firm is looking for answers and eyewitnesses to that serious crash at a LaSalle grocery store. A lawyer says their client was enjoying his break when he was suddenly struck by an SUV and then pinned underneath it. CTV's Michelle Molesky reports.
Zehrs employee Ronaldo Melendez was on his break on October 20th when an SUV plowed into the grocery store.
A really shocking set of circumstances.
Lawyer Joanna Sweet has been retained by the Melendez family to get some answers.
We're looking for any witnesses who may have seen that collision or have any knowledge about it to come forward, because we're doing our investigation to see what happened and why it happened.
What they do know is Melendez was pinned underneath the SUV until he was rescued by first responders.
He had a very serious fracture to his right arm that required a surgery. He had some blood clots in his lungs, which have required a procedure. He's had broken bones in his ribs and his back. So he's doing really badly and he's still in hospital.
Sweet says they're considering a civil lawsuit, but first they need to collect information about the driver before and after the crash, as well as any details from the parking lot or surrounding neighborhood that afternoon.
Any civil action, the person has 2 years from the date of loss to file their statement of claim at the Superior Court of Justice. So there's a lot of time here. And in this case, we're really still at that investigation stage to find out what happened.
A 73-year-old woman from LaSalle has been charged with careless driving. Michelle Molesky, CTV News.
A federal agency has decided to not weigh in on the controversial Dresden landfill development. As we've reported since last winter, York One Environmental Waste Solutions wants to reopen and upgrade an existing landfill for recycling of construction material. Dresden residents and the municipality are strongly opposed to this project. After publicly promising to stop the project, the Ford government flip-flopped in April and exempted it from a comprehensive provincial environmental assessment. Residents then asked the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada to intervene and conduct one itself. However, on Friday, the IAAC announced they will not intervene as they believe provincial standards are enough to make sure the landfill doesn't have an adverse impact on the town and its environment. Now, the Toronto-based company is pleased, telling CTV News in a statement, quote, "This outcome affirms what we have been saying from the beginning. This is not a new landfill, but an existing provincially regulated site being modernized to handle non-hazardous construction and demolition materials safely and sustainably." But residents are still disappointed.
We were made to understand this wasn't coming out to November 20th. And I'd been working with Walpole Island, who was going to submit their answer to all of this. And they never got a chance to put their 2 cents in.
A Windsor refugee shelter that's helped many people is now feeling the pinch, with costs up and donations down. CTV's Travis Fortnum visited Matthew House today, where staff say they're doing everything they can to keep the doors open.
At Matthew House in Windsor, families like Diego, Camila, and little Emiliano have found more than just shelter. They've found home.
We was in the difficult situation, and we are very grateful with the members of Matthew House, all members, because it's so kind with us.
I feel like a family here.
They are just one of many families who have started over here, but now the refugee shelter that's helped thousands is facing its own crisis. Matthew House runs entirely on donations, and those funds are running low, so they need your help.
Matthew House, we've never done this before. We're not a charity who on a regular basis says, help, we're in trouble.
Executive Director Mike Morency says things have gotten so bad they've already had to cut staff. And he says it's not just jobs on the line. Further cuts will impact how they're able to help families.
We've never done an appeal like this before. This is a big deal for us, but the reality is that if we don't get the community's support within the next 2 weeks, we're going to have to start closing beds and cutting back on services.
2 years ago, Matthew House expanded to meet rising demand, using up the reserves that would normally help when donations are down. Now, in tough economic times, it's even harder to get people to give, especially for a cause like refugee support.
In general, in Canada, there is a bit of a growing anti-immigrant sentiment, in part because when people are hurting, they look for somebody to blame. They're not coming to steal our jobs. They're not coming to steal our housing. They want to rebuild their lives.
As Diego and Camila consider making Windsor their permanent home, they say they've found hope in the community around them.
Windsor, very secure city, and the people is very, very kind.
And Morency is optimistic that Windsorites will rally around Matthew House, ensuring it can keep its doors open for the next family who needs it. Travis Fortnum, CTV News.
Part of the former Navistar property, once home of hundreds of automotive jobs, is being transformed into an indoor sports complex. CTV's Chris Campbell has more on the project, bringing energy back to the space.
For years, the massive Navistar property sat empty, a reminder of Chatham's industrial past. Now it's being reimagined as a place for play, a new indoor multi-sports complex called the CK Flexplex.
Things just happened to line up, the star aligned, and here we are.
Owner Philip Ong says phase 1 of the project will open early next year, offering space for indoor soccer, volleyball, basketball, and other recreational activities, with plans to expand across the property between now and 2028.
Any sport that you can think of, we will have it here. So if you have any idea for your sport for your group that I haven't thought about, please get in touch and we will make it happen.
We've been wanting to do this for a while. We were looking at a project over in the Bear Line Park, and now that we don't have to look at that, we can focus on this and have somebody else running it. It's more efficient that way.
The sprawling site was once home to a truck factory and employed upwards of 1,200 people, officially closing in 2011.
It's all environment cleaned up and it's ready to go. So shovel, basically we call it shovel ready, with all the services around the whole property, Kyle Drive, Richmond Street, and Merritt Avenue. So it's time.
Officials say there isn't another indoor sports complex like this anywhere in between Windsor and London.
It's a really exciting development for the community to see the tennis dome open just a short while ago and to see another recreational amenity in the community. It's really important, and we're seeing growth in Chatham-Kent. We've seen a lot of interest in recreational infrastructure, and it's fantastic to see private partners step up and look to develop something that's going to be a really important aspect of attraction and retention in our community.
Developers hope the first athletes will be taking to the courts and fields in January 2026, marking a new chapter for a landmark property with deep roots in Chatham's history.
It is very exciting.
In Chatham, Chris Campbell, CTV News.
Meteorologist Gary Archibald has their full weather details coming up in 2 minutes' time. And still ahead, a clubhouse built by newcomers marks its 100th year in celebration.
5K a day is back on 93.9
Virgin Radio.
Listen to Hannah and Johnny in the morning for your chance to win $5,000
Every weekday.
5K a day.
Virgin Radio.
With rain and wind in the forecast, meteorologist Gary Archibald joins us again for a full look at the forecast. Gary.
Stephanie, we're talking about temperatures getting down to about 7 degrees through the overnight. The clouds have moved in already late this evening. The winds are still quite gusty. We'll see gusts in that 50-kilometer-per-hour range at times for tomorrow morning. Today was sunny at times, but towards the early evening, increasing cloudiness, and it was quite breezy, if not gusty, throughout the day, reaching a high of 13, a half a degree above seasonal. What's next? This massive system of low pressure counterclockwise swirls so we can make it out. It's this huge comma-shaped pattern. It's large, but it's really not moving much to the north, but the outer bands are, so the core is staying quasi-stationary stateside through the Tennessee Valley, but the outer bands are here, and that's where the rain will come from. Eventually, the system will move northward and have further implications here at home across Canada's eastern flank. The worst-case scenario, well, it's just going to be rainy post-midnight and beyond. There's the swirl, and finally it works its way, producing even some snow on its reverse side. Cold enough air gets wrapped into the circulation. Snow for parts of eastern Ontario and western Quebec. Meanwhile, we're warm enough to stay rainy and windy. Northeasterly sustained, along with this rainfall across southern Ontario. For us, sustained at around 30 kilometers per hour with gusts, as mentioned, 40 plus. 50 isn't out of the question. Overnight temperature before dawn, say around 4 a.m., a steady 7 degrees Celsius. That's mild for this time of the year, relatively speaking, above seasonal by about 3 degrees. But it'll be windy and cool in that our daytime temperature will be about 3 degrees below seasonal for a high. 10 degrees in the afternoon. We'll reach that around 4:30 p.m. So rainy morning, midday, and afternoon, and windy, as mentioned. Where do we go from here? Thursdays. Well, still looking like it will have an influence in terms of the rainfall because of this lingering area of low pressure for Friday. Friday morning showers, a high of 12. The weekend looks good, though. We could see some frost early Sunday morning, highs of 11 both days, Saturday, Sunday, respectively. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday between 12 and 13 degrees. Passing showers Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, a mixture of sun and cloud. Be prepared for some wet and cool air in place.
Donald Trump's trade war with Canada and our weak economy led to a cutting of the Bank of Canada's trend-setting lending rate, now at 2.25%. CTV Annie Bergeron-Oliver digs deeper into what was the bank's widely expected decision.
The Bank of Canada delivering a bleak outlook today, slashing growth projections as tariffs drive up costs for businesses and fuel uncertainty.
Part of it is structural. The U.S. has swerved to protectionism. It's harder to do business with the United States. That has destroyed some of the capacity in this country.
The bank is projecting Canada will narrowly avoid a recession with growth just 0.75% for the second half of 2025, and the economy overall 1.5% smaller by the end of 2026 than initially forecast. To help ease the trade shock, the central bank has cut rates to 2.25%.
There's nothing to cheer about here. I think we're lowering interest rates because the economy is under immense strain.
For now, the bank suggests it's done lowering rates as long as its growth forecasts don't change and inflation remains around 2%. But with unpredictable trade policies south of the border, experts say change can happen fast.
If U.S. policy stays where it is, then we can have a little more confidence in these kind of projections. But of course, the president can wake up on the wrong side of the bed and suddenly Canada's in a recession.
Macklem acknowledges that there's not much more the bank can do to put Canada's economy back on a better growth trajectory. That's why experts say the funding and policies in next week's budget will be scrutinized even closer. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canada's main stock index was down as a result of broad-based losses. The TSX lost over 270 points. In New York, the Dow fell 74, the Nasdaq gained 130. The dollar was up over 1/5 of a cent. Gold moved over the $4,000 an ounce mark, and oil was up 33 cents a barrel. Start your day with the latest local news. By signing up for our newsletter, you'll get direct local content straight from CTV Windsor to your inbox, including top stories, the forecast, and videos. You can sign up at ctvnewswindsor.ca. Mark Carney and Donald Trump sat opposite one another at a leaders' working dinner in South Korea today, face to face for the first time since the U.S. president abruptly cut off trade talks with Canada. CTV's Judy Trin is on the tension and the tiny attempts at peace.
Red carpet welcome for the Prime Minister. As Air Force One loomed on the tarmac, Mark Carney was whisked away for a dinner invitation by South Korea's president. There was no denying who was the guest of honor. Earlier in the day, Lee Jae-myung presented Donald Trump with a replica crown and a medallion representing South Korea's highest honor. Carney and Trump didn't engage each other during the photo op before dinner, but at the table, they pointed to each other in acknowledgement, and Trump briefly locked eyes with Carney after the toast. At the table, Trump said what the Koreans wanted.
We had a tremendous meeting today with South Korea. We made our deal. We pretty much finalized a trade deal.
That's not the case for Canada, not after this anti-tariff ad.
America's jobs and growth
are at stake.
Trump terminated trade negotiations 6 days ago and is threatening adding 10% tariffs on top of what Canada already has.
How was dinner, Prime Minister? You chat with the president at all, sir?
Very good. Had a very good conversation with all the presidents.
We don't know if Carney and Trump talked about resuming negotiations, but we do know that Carney will now focus on talks with Canada's second biggest trading partner, China. That takes place Friday. Judy Trin, CTV News, Gyeongju, South Korea.
For years, Canada has faced criticism from its allies for not spending enough on defense. But now, as other departments enter the red, the military is preparing for a major budget boost. CTV's Annie Bergeron-Oliver has more on what areas may be prioritized.
For decades, the Canadian military has been forced to stretch a dollar, but that could change.
Governments of all stripes for the last 30 or 40 years have been a little bit, maybe even neglectful. So I think right now this is the time.
Canada has committed to spending more than $9 billion to finally reach NATO's 2% target by the end of March 2026. A priority, aging bases and living quarters, the Auditor General says, are frequently in poor condition.
When you're running a military on a shoestring budget, you have rot out on your bases and your wings and your naval facilities. So the first any number of billions are going to have to go into building out the infrastructure.
Ottawa has already announced billions for recruitment and retention efforts, as well as pay raises and new benefits for military members. But experts say they hope to see more initiatives in the budget.
If Canada spends billions of dollars on equipment, but that equipment doesn't have sufficient trained personnel to actually use the equipment, some of that money will underdeliver on its aspirations.
Money for new equipment is also expected, and experts say the wish list is long. Canada needs new state-of-the-art submarines, new warships, and replacements for the aging Griffins.
And this is, their main interceptor.
Glenn Cowan, whose firm invests in Canadian defense and national security companies, hopes Carney's pledge to introduce Buy Canada policies in the budget boosts Canadian entrepreneurs.
Canada doesn't have a technology problem. We don't have a talent problem. We don't have an innovation problem. We have an adoption problem. And the challenge is rewarding Canadian companies to do business in Canada.
Spending on the military is only expected to grow. The Prime Minister has pledged to spend 5% of GDP on defense within the next decade. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
Windsor Essex has raised nearly $104,000 for the Hospice of Windsor in Essex County during the 23rd annual face-to-face campaign. Running for the past 6 weeks, the campaign supports the Fairley Family Transportation Program, providing rides to medical appointments and wellness programs. Campaign founder John Fairley calls the community support overwhelming, noting the impact the donations have on local families. Last year, the campaign raised over $111,000, and in its 23-year history, it has raised more than $1.8 million, with all funds staying right here in Windsor, Essex.
To be able to take people on rides and experiences, taking someone that's bedridden to be able to go out to see the sunset, go out to Point Pelee or go to a Spitfire game or go to a wedding. I mean, great stories of great experiences. It's our hospice.
Gary, what a great campaign.
Love working with the organization. Of course, John Fairley's doing great work and has for years. Now, let's talk about the work involved to stay dry over the next couple of days. A rain jacket, an umbrella, tuck that away in your school bag, perhaps headed to work, briefcase, handbag, whatever it may be. Headed to the gym, your gym bag, because it's going to be wet for much of the day, through the morning and into the late afternoon. Showers persisting Friday. Note the temperatures for lows starting Sunday, very low, and a frost risk. The good news is the weekend looks relatively fair. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week will still be in the low teens. That would be seasonal for this time of the year. Wherever you are, enjoy the weather and the fall leaves. We'll see you next time. Good night.
One of Windsor's most familiar gathering spots is marking a milestone this year. The Giovani Caboto Club is 100. CTV's Sanjay Maru details how a clubhouse built by newcomers helped shape Windsor's community.
There's more to the Caboto Club than its popular pizza and the pageantry of its prestigious events. Its original home on Niagara and Marion was a gathering spot for a small group of Italian immigrants to come together and find support in a new country.
They sat down and said, why don't we get an organization going for Italians, immigrants?
As membership grew, so did the need for space. The current home of the Street Help Homeless Shelter once belonged to the Caboto Club from the mid-1930s to the late 40s.
Caboto Club has donated millions of dollars to help people in this community, including homeless. And so it's amazing that our first building now is the homeless shelter in Windsor. It's kind of neat.
A post-war immigration boom brought new life to the club. Members bought this Parent Avenue site in 1949, and by 1950, a modern new hall opened, built with volunteer labor. Expansions in the 70s and 80s transformed it into the world-class venue we know today.
The original hall, when they built it, ended actually right around here. And then after that, everything you see towards Tecumseh, that was all additions.
But the club's evolution has not been only bricks and mortar. Historically, membership was limited to men of Italian descent, a long-standing policy that drew criticism in recent years. That changed in 2023 when the Caboto lifted that restriction, allowing women to be members and sit on the board.
They're doing a wonderful job, those that are being active in our club, and I think it's a plus.
Right now, when we get a new membership, we average maybe 5 or 6 a month. Most of them are women at the moment.
Ladies are taken care of every single day.
From bocce courts and banquet halls to homemade pasta and black tie galas, the Caboto Club continues to blend culture, community, and generosity just as it has since 1925. Now celebrating 100 years, the Giovani Caboto Club calls itself Southwestern Ontario's largest and oldest Italian club, putting on more than 2,000 events annually. And as for this Saturday's gala, it will feature live entertainment, special guest speakers, and a tribute to the generations past who have helped shape the legacy of this club. In Windsor, Sanjay Maru, CTV News.
And what a legacy it is. It's going to be a great celebration this weekend. That's your news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. See you right back here tomorrow.